Hello, thank you all very, very much for joining us at Soho Theatre today. My name's Lucy Kerball. I'm going to be running the Q&A today. I'm the director of Tonic Theatre, and what Tonic does is it works across the theatre industry, supporting it to achieve greater gender equality. And as part of that, one of the things that we really love doing is singing from the rooftops about the achievements of brilliant women who are leading the way and are changing the face of theatre. And to that end, it is a genuine pleasure to be here on stage with the wonderful creators of Fleabag and the ladies behind Dry Right, Vicky Jones and Phoebe Waller-Bridge. So obviously, Fleabag has been hugely successful on television this year. We're going to be talking about that in a bit. But you're now back at Soho Theatre, where it all began, doing a run. Has it been nice coming back to Soho this time? Phoebe, do you want to kick off?
Yeah, it really has. It kind of feels like everything in between was just a bit of a dream now, actually. I think it was really important to us. We just felt a real pull to come back and do it again, actually, and remember where it had started and to find the characters again that didn't exist in the TV show, and just, it's actually really invigorated us again to what we want to do next and with Vicky's next play and stuff. It's just, it's great to be back in the theatre.
Darling. Vicky, how is it coming in and watching it again here?
This is my favourite space in London. I think it's so fantastic for an audience, because you get a great view from absolutely everywhere, and it's just the right size and it's really intimate, but you can get a great sound from a laugh, which is great for Fleabag. My play was on here a few years ago as well, so I have a really close relationship with it. With the space itself. I think, it doesn't feel very long ago that Steve Marmion was talking to us as young people that had sort of come to, well, not young particularly in my case, but who come to him sort of hoping to put some work on and to work with him through Dry Right, our company, and his sort of open-hearted response of, have some space, we've got space, we've got slots, and giving us that freedom to make what we wanted to make without judging it, just coming along at the end and going, that was interesting, was a big thing for us, I think, with Dry Right. It kind of started off our work here and made it feel very official and so on.
So we're going to be talking about Dry Right in a bit, but I just want to sort of start with the here and now, because obviously we're in the last couple of weeks of 2016, which has been an interesting year. But for the two of you on a professional level, it has been it's kind of been storming as a year. So just to give you a sense of, if anyone hasn't noticed what's gone on for these two, so this is what they've had happening this year. So beginning of the year, Phoebe's first TV show, Crashing, which she wrote and performed in, premieres on Channel 4. Then a few months later, Fleabag appears initially on BBC 3. It is then broadcast on BBC 2. And then Amazon, who were a co-producer of the show with the BBC, takes it to the US. Tomorrow you're both flying out to LA because it's been nominated for 2 Critics' Choice TV Awards. So you're flying to LA for the day. Yeah, okay, it doesn't stop there. Don't think about the carbon footprint of these two. And then, of course, Fleabag has come for another run here at Soho. The run sold out in 12 minutes. You've both been named, along with the Prime Minister and Beyoncé, Financial Times Women of the Year 2016. And Vicky, it's been announced that your new play Touch will play here next year. So it's been a pretty good year. When this time last year, if you go back to Christmas 2015, did you have any concept this was going to happen to you this year?
Christmas 2015. I'm really bad with time.
We were storylining Fleabag, the TV show.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh no, that was hellish.
It was
that was a horrible time. Horrible Christmas. I knew that, Crashing had just finished and then backed quite quickly onto having to write Fleabag, and it had taken me a year to adapt the to create the pilot script from, which I think was hard because it was finding the format and everything, but it took me a year to do that, and then it suddenly was 5 months to write the rest of it. And it was over that period, so it was a really intense frightening time when I felt like this is an opportunity you don't get very often, and I'm ruining it with every page that I write. And then Vix was script editing on it and was helping me all the way along the way. And so I think at that point, no. At that point, honestly, I thought my career was going to be over when Fleabag came out. And which I think it often does with people when you're writing, you go into the black hole a bit. And then, but then had an amazing team who really felt invested in it. And so I started to hope that we'd, I'm not just saying this like I hope we'd get away with it, but honestly, because it was something that we hadn't, we're trying to do something new and different, so I was like, I didn't know if this is going to work, so I was feeling very insecure in Christmas 2015.
Yeah, I think we work. I'll take it. I think we work really differently in that we always say that you wait for a bolt from the blue, and I'm more of a trucker. You know, come on, keep going. It's just get something down, leave that placeholder.
Do you mean Phoebe? You prepare and Phoebe doesn't?
Wow. That's actually quite accurate, though.
I've seen this lady at work.
Yeah, I mean, Phoebe's just got an incredible instinct for what's good, and it's an incredible thing to be around, but she's tortured when it's not, and when it's not good enough. And I think that's been always part of my job, is going, come on, this is good, this is something, you know, that will work fantastically well. We'll just need to lay it down, and we'll leave it there and we'll come back to it. But I think Phoebe's very, very ambitious to sort of drive it and be like, no, it's not right. It's got to be perfect. And I think it's a good combination, really, you know, of sort of playing some of it safe and pushing until some of it is perfect, until it all gets to the point where it's perfect.
I think you could survive without me, but I know I couldn't survive without you, basically.
But did you said earlier, Phoebe, that you thought, I mean, I think you were joking, I'm not sure, you said you thought your career was over back, you know, 12 months ago, that fear. And how did you get through that fear?
Well, because you've got deadlines and there's a lot of pressure on you. I mean, I think, and I don't mean that to sound kind of melodramatic, but I mean, at the same time, you know, you're given a series, like a TV series, and you're allowed to be in it and you're allowed to write it, and the play was already a success, and everything about it was so close to my heart, and it was the ultimate opportunity that I've been working towards forever and ever. So, and also there was no safety net, like with Crashing, I'd seen ensemble comedies before, and it was kind of a homage to the ones that I loved before, and with Fleabag, the whole time we were talking, and everything that was in my head was that it can't be like anything else I've seen before, but then that led me into a place of, like, just a bat cave, basically, of like, I don't know what I'm making, so it was frightening, but you have to keep going. We had amazing, supportive director, Harry Bradbeer, and producer, and the Two Brothers Pictures, and Lydia Hampson, who supported me so much and just kind of jolly you through. I mean, it was also fun at the same time. Like, I'm writing jokes in between all of this, so it's fun. But it's but the fear when you feel like you've been given the opportunity you've been shouting for your whole career. Someone just goes, "Oh, go on then, go on, make it good." And you're like, I don't know. Left me alone with it.
So, obviously, Fleabag has sort of got a long history. So I think it began in 2013. Began here at Soho as a development piece, which I saw. And then I think it went to the Edinburgh Festival. It was marvellous. Then it went to the Edinburgh Festival, did very, very well there. It's had subsequent runs at Soho. It's had a tour, and then obviously the TV show. What was the initial impetus for writing that particular piece?
Well, someone asked you to do some stand-up, right?
Yes, there was the London Storytelling Festival was on, and Deborah Frances White was running a night of stand-up storytelling, and she'd been trying to get me to do stand-up for a while, and it's something that I was really intimidated by and didn't really think I ever wanted to do. And then she told me that there was a stool and I could have my pages with me, and so I decided that was a kind of fair compromise. So it was 10 minutes of sit-down reading, really, with jokes, but because it was a different kind of crowd. It was a comedy crowd. The audience we didn't know the audience, whereas the dry write audience that we know and love so well, putting something in front of them that I had written after we'd created work, like helping other writers and facilitated their work, suddenly like getting up and doing your own writing, I felt very, very vulnerable in front of our own kind of circle. But this was this outside circle of people who go and see comedy and stuff, and I was like, I don't know these people, I can bomb, I can crash and burn, and I can just go home and no one has to know about it. And so I wrote this 10 minutes and invited Vicky along. Vicky helped me with it in the first place, but I basically said this is an experiment to see if I can write something in 10 minutes that will make Vicky laugh in a crowd of people. And that was I had that kind of puritanical view of it. It was just if I make Vicky laugh, then this experiment is worthwhile. And then I started writing this character that I'd always wanted to play, this kind of acerbic, dark, dry-witted, sexually voracious, funny character. And that was how the first 10 minutes popped out.
Yeah, and it was on this high stool as well, which we obviously have kept. There was something about it and something about the relationship that you had with the audience which felt like kind of stand-up, but there was a trick to it because it was, this girl had so much darkness and she didn't care, you know, she didn't seem to care about these terrible things she was describing, and it was almost like a sort of a competition to see how terrible the things that she could say could be without caring about them at all, and the audience were gasping. And I think that that any concern that I ever could have had about whether the audience would still love someone like that, who seemed very uncaring, were blown away in that moment when I saw Phoebe performing her because of her endless charm and wit, and because she because she was so funny, you know. I just thought that it was extraordinary, and everyone told us at the time that we should take it to Edinburgh, so we mentioned it to our brilliant producer. He was a tiny little 25-year-old and knew Edinburgh really well, and she just booked it all, and then we had no choice, and we had no time either, and so it was about 3 weeks before the first performance in Edinburgh that we sat down and you started writing it properly. Because it was fast. It was really fast.
I do, like, you've just made me remember, I remember having a conversation with you, Vicky, on the street outside after the first preview, whatever it was you'd done. The bar was packed, we were outside on the pavement, and you sort of said, oh no, she has just written it in the last, I mean, it was in the last couple of days. But it was sort of...
That's why she hadn't learnt it, yeah.
Yeah, she had the paper in front of her. But yet it was so extraordinary and so compelling even at such a early stage. So tell us a bit about Dry Write. So Dry Write is the company that you two set up, and Dry Write produced it. It was, Fleabag was made through Dry Write. What is Dry Write? What's it done? Why did you begin it?
Lots of people have told us that the name Dry Write sounds like a sexual disease. So we can't shake it, unfortunately, because it's a real brand now for us. When Vicky and I first met, I was an out-of-work actor who couldn't get arrested, and Vicky was a director, and she was working she was working at one point directing.
I couldn't get a job either. I just couldn't get a job for love nor money, and would do anything that would pay me. And so I agreed to do this job, which ended up being disastrous. I'm afraid to say it was a vanity project. I'm pretty sure none of the people involved would be here.
Not your vanity.
Not my
project.
vanity. No, somebody else's. And it was awful, and I got sacked.
But she'd hired me. You were telling the story all back.
Yeah, so I'd hired Phoebe, the only person I was allowed to hire, and the only person who was good but brilliant as well. And I unfortunately tried to make some changes, which resulted in me being booted out. And they announced it to Phoebe and all the other actors, and knowing that she wasn't going to get paid, which was a big deal back then, they told her that I was leaving, and she got up and walked out, and they said, "That's very brave." And she said it would be braver to stay. And
the right line came out. I cannot believe it.
And I heard about it and texted her and said, "I heard about what you did, and I'll never forget it." And we went out for a drink. She invited me out for a drink, and we started talking. And I think pretty quickly we realised we both wanted to make our own work. We were frustrated by our sort of lack of agency in the industry and had lots of ideas. And so Dry Write was born. Actually, it's a bit more to the story.
So we both were talking for ages about wanting just stuff that we loved about theatre and stuff we loved about experiencing theatre and as an audience members, and we were getting so hyperactive talking to each other about it that we were almost exploding, and I'd never had a conversation like that with someone before that was completely unpretentious about theatre, just like, wouldn't it be awesome if, or wouldn't it be fun if? And so we decided to do a night together, and actually by complete chance I had, with a bunch of friends, decided to put on a night when all these actors would write a piece of theatre or write a monologue anonymously, and then we'd all read it out to each other. And by complete chance, that day, you're not going to believe this, it was actually true. That day, Vicky phoned me and said, I have this idea, why don't we get a bunch of people together, get them to write monologues, and they'll do it anonymously so everyone feels safe when they're writing. And I was like, holy shit bags, it's happening tonight in East London, in this pub called the George Tavern, Shadwell, and I've got about 10 people doing it. So then Vix came along and she directed all the pieces 10 minutes before they all went on. And we all listened to it, and it was brilliant. And then we decided, well, we had to do it again. And so we did it again. Then the audience would just kind of double each time. And then we started applying some of the questions that we had and the stuff that we thought was cool and fun about theatre to these shorts nights, and we'd give the writers briefs of how to elicit certain reactions out of the audience. So the audience would always know that they were there to either fall in love with a character in under 5 minutes, or to bet on a character, or to heckle to a character, and they'd know that, and it was the writer's responsibility to try and get that reaction out of the audience. So it's kind of fun for everybody. And we did that, and that snowballed, and we had a different brief every month, and then other theatres started getting interested in us and asking us to curate evenings for them. And then we did absolutely insane things at Latitude Festival, and just more kind of bonkers ideas. Then eventually we were resident at the Bush Theatre for a year, and we started doing more stuff there. But we were still just, Jones and I were just finding writers, giving them the brief, asking them to write for us, then finding the actors, casting it, Vix would direct it, and then it would go on. And we just got such a buzz off that, and people kept asking us, what are you getting out of this? Because there's no money in it or anything. We were just like, we just love it. And then we've now realised, in hindsight, it was probably a kind of subtle training ground for writing.
We wanted to be writers, basically.
We basically wanted to be writers and didn't know it at that point.
But it was a great kind of relationship to build with the writer, because I think writers often have this relationship with the theatre where they've got a commission and they're hoping that it'll get on, but that's all they work on and so on. And shorts nights do sometimes kind of ameliorate that sort of lack of relationship that they can have for over a long period of time. But we were just sort of promising we'd get it up, whatever it was, we'd get it up, we'd get an actor to do it, and we put it on in front of an audience, and it would be anonymous. So there was a certain level of protection there and a kind of laboratory experience for them, I think, in terms of, I wonder if I can, make an audience really feel suspense in that moment and so on. And I think also that the attitude towards how does an audience feel about this kept it from being indulgent, and created an ethic for both of us in terms of the work that we make, that it's all about you. It's that's the priority throughout, as it always should be, of course.
With your success that you've had through Fleabag, something I've noticed is when I've spoken to people about it, generally, actually overwhelmingly, just about always, what you get back from someone is good on them, which you don't always get when people have big successes with something. And I wonder if part of it is because, as well as the product being artistically so strong, there is something about the fact that you guys have grafted for this. It wasn't like an opportunity just sort of dropped out the sky. It was years of grafting, and you created the platform and you developed the company, then you began putting on full-length plays, and then you sort of got to the point of making Fleabag, you got it to Edinburgh, you put the graft in, you created the platform for yourselves. So Dry Write has given you the success that you're having now with Fleabag and that profile, but what else did it give you, that thing of, rather than just going, I'm a frustrated actress, I'm a frustrated director, what did setting up your own organisation give you as humans and as artists and as theatre professionals?
Power, good sense of superiority.
Attention,
lots of attention, great nights after Fleabag, lots of drunken parties.
Loads of drunken parties.
But actually that shouldn't be dismissed, actually, because it's right, because where we were very serious in our careers, I was going to be an actress, and I went to drama school and I did it all right, I'm going to get an actress, and I'm just not getting auditions, and still very serious. And Vicky had a very serious director's career, and she had to go and be a director somewhere. And on the side, for the love of it, we were doing Dry Write. So we were actually laughing about this the other night, and we were saying that people have said, you guys have grafted for so long, all that kind of stuff. And when we look back, it's with so much love and lightness of heart that we look at the stuff we did with Dry Write. It doesn't feel like we were kind of on our hands and knees, just like crawling through mud, which it did feel as actor and director, I think, if I can speak for you. But the Dry Write stuff came out of love. That's why we had so much energy for it, and there was so much we would do for free, and that we'd meet like-minded people who would do it for free for us as well, because it was just fun, and it was what felt was at the heart of what we all wanted to be in the industry for in the first place. So for me, it just made me fall in love with everything all over again. Every time we did a little shorts night, I just loved it. Acting, writing, directing, producing, everything. It was just took the industry away from it.
Exactly the same. And I think as a director, it's really intimidating, especially when your entry point into the industry, when you're presented with these very small little gateways to get into making your own work, and also a lot of people who seem to know an awful lot about theatre and decide whether or not you're talking in the right way about theatre and whether it's for you to talk about at all, in fact, really. And there's loads of hoops you have to jump through, loads of essays and applications that are really exhausting. You have to write, and you often need to create this sort of gang of designers and so on, and say what you would do with a production, how you would approach it. And of course, that's really, really intellectual and really, really intimidating. And you go into these meetings and you're shaking, and you know that there's really clever people before and behind you. And so for me, it was just a relief, just to be able to have my best friend as the only person who I cared about in terms of what who thought what she thought about what I was saying, which is lucky because I can't speak. And she was the only one I cared about really in Dry Write, and what we thought was good we made, and if we didn't have a good idea we wouldn't do it, but if we had a good idea we'd make sure we did it. And it was all just sort of, we were the only bosses, and I think that that freedom and that we gave ourselves just by not asking anybody's permission or asking them if they thought we should do it, really liberated us and was a better education for me than anything else I was doing.
And I think it gave us confidence, because when we had done our own little quirky thing with each other and kind of, for each other early on, and people were coming and people were responding, and it just seemed outside of everything else that you had to do to be in the industry, that probably gave us confidence to then make the leap to make our first production, because we had a conversation, we just met Francesca Moody, who, this powerhouse producer, who, we sat down, she was like, hey, what do you want to do? And we were like, well, I think maybe one day we should put on a play or something, I don't know. It was talking all this big game, and she was like, well, do it. I'm ready to, make the cogs start turning.
She introduced us to Shah, our stage manager, who is still our stage manager today. Who's sitting in the front row there.
And
done every single Fleabag performance ever.
Yes, she's seen it more than anybody in the world. And actually, on the note of Shah, we like to say it's actually a two-hander, this show, because Shah's timing and Shah, everything that Shah does with this show is so incredibly linked to what we do together. So, that's good. But yes, the first show then we did, was with Shah, was Jack Thorne's. We commissioned Jack Thorne, who'd worked for us on a kind of ad hoc Dry Write short nights way a couple of times, and he agreed to write us a play. And that's when you've got Jack Thorne writing your play, it's a good kick up the arse to get it on stage and produced, and so we did it.
Yeah, he said he'd only do it if we made sure we put it on, so we will.
And what I find interesting about having watched the journey that the two of you have taken is that you have branched out. So Phoebe, you were just an actress, and you said you were very serious, just an actress. And Vicky, you were, when I first met you were just a director. And it's been really interesting watching you both sort of expand out and become polymaths in that Vicky, polymaths. Vicky, you direct, but you are also an award-winning playwright. Phoebe, you're now still performing, but you're also writing. You're both essentially producing, but also I'd say Dry Write was about producing work, but it was also about creating these events, these nights, which had this sort of enormous energy. And I remember when you first sort of kicked off with it, it was like something sort of extraordinary appeared in London theatre. The evenings were so different. Do you feel that doing a range of things has been beneficial to you artistically? Because we can tend in this country to try and put people into boxes. If you're serious about acting, you'll just act. If you're serious about writing, you'll just write. You won't do a range of things.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I was worried about hyphenating myself when I first started writing, and that it would be like, well, that I thought that I'd annoy the writer friends that I had, but very few of them had that reaction. I think it's it just makes sense, you know, if you love drama and if you love theatre, you're going to naturally, to me, want to work in more than one aspect of the industry and you know, it's absolutely specialised, but I always urge people to try writing, especially if they feel like they're interested in it and they want to have a go, because it's just so satisfying. And I you know, for a really long time thought that writers were these special godlike beings. That's why I wanted to be around them, you know, I wanted to work with them, because I thought that they were the ones that chose the words, and that was the most extraordinary gift that a good writer can give to an audience and give to the world. But when you actually start doing it, you realise it's just a lot of hard work, you know, and making yourself go back to that laptop and believing in yourself just about enough, and having that little flicker of belief in you, and keeping that going. And it's a lot more about that kind of thing than it is about just being able to come out with beautiful words. And also it's hiding, you know, which I'm quite a nervous person anyway. Hated having to stand up in front of people and make introductions to the show, as we always made ourselves do in Dry Write, and was quite a nervous director actually, so it's probably much more suited to my personality. I never want to act, never ever.
You say that about being nervous about introducing our nights, though, but honestly she'd be off stage going, I can't do it, this is so awful, I feel so, I don't know why you're making me do this, I'm not an actor, I'm not a performer, I'm not, I just want to be behind the scenes. And then she'd get on stage and be like, good evening everybody, Vicky Jones. Hello, thank you so much for coming, it's just wonderful to see you all. You know? So good, it's like just presenting Top of the Pops or something.
But just on that note of the introductions, I have a very clear memory of being at a Dry Write night at the George, which stank. It was like the smelliest pub ever. And sort of being in the audience and seeing the two of you come out and do the introduction to the evening, and there was just something about it that was very powerful. And I think there was something about the confidence of you two just stood there going, welcome to our evening, thanks very much for coming, this is what we're doing. And at the time that felt quite unusual to see, but was quite exciting, and I think probably spurred a lot of the rest of us on. But anyway,
I think just to respond to that, I think having each other has always been what's made us do go further and be braver and be honest about what we think is the right thing to do and do that. I would never have done it without you.
I've done it without you either. But I also think what we had was that we weren't saying this is our work that we've created that we think is really fucking good and like welcome, thanks for your money. We were going, we had this crazy idea last week and we asked, we don't know if it's going to work or not, but we really want to see the answer. We really want to see what comes out of this experiment, and these playwrights have taken a risk, and you guys are here and you've got a job, you've got to pay attention because you've got to tell these guys if they've succeeded or not in the challenge. And oh my god, again, and we were just so excited. And I think coming at it at that night with questions and the excitement about the questions rather than coming in with all the with all the kind of answers and wearing that ourselves gave us more confidence, I think, in that way as well.
Yeah, we promised ourselves we'd never try and answer questions, just ask them, open things out rather than trying to have the answers to things.
So, Phoebe, sorry, I asked you and then I distracted you by talking about you guys introducing Dry Write. I asked you about how it's felt branching out, so rather than just being an actress, also doing other artistic roles. Has that been a joyful process? Has it been scary? Has it been...
No, it's made it less scary, because I think you just feel like you have other things to do, and I think there's a lot of hanging around when you're an actor. There's a lot of waiting and hoping, and it's just sort of frustrating because you're doing it because you love acting and you can't kind of just be at home and practice acting like you can the violin or something, you know, like you need to like actually go out and do it. And so the moment that Dry Write came about and that we were empowering each other to just do it and get on and act, and I really actually hated acting at Dry Write stuff for the same reason that I didn't like it. I didn't do it very often. I didn't like it being like, welcome to our night, and then first up, Phoebe on a bridge. Like so I wouldn't even actually do it, but it was still just being around it and then learning a bit about directing through Vicky just was exploding my brain about seeing it from different angles, and it just made me feel much stronger actually. And even if there are aspects of it that I take to more than other sides of it, having that little window in was really, really exciting. And also we'd pull things out of each other. Like basically Vicky bullied me until I wrote something, and then I just bullied her as revenge until she wrote something. And I think that's a really important phase for us, because it was most of the time people go, oh, I can't do that, I can't do that. And if you actually have somebody who you respect going, no, you can, and do it, because you're boring me by hanging around and not doing it, is the most amazing gift. And I think that's also what Dry Write gave us, I think. Is that right? Very good.
Okay, great. So at this point, we're going to go to questions from the audience. Is there a microphone somewhere? Oh, there is. Excellent. Hands up. There is someone here in a red top that I can see. Hello.
I've got a loud enough voice. You'll probably
Hello.
Hi.
Oh, can you hold the microphone nice and close to you?
Is that better? So it's really lovely, the dynamic of the relationship that you've been talking about. So I'm just interested, I guess, from a personal perspective. You were talking about bullying each other and encouraging each other and all of that lovely stuff. Have there been significant roadblocks along the way where you've had to deal with challenges to your working relationship, or something's come in left field?
Okay, so challenges in regards to your working relationship, or other significant challenges along the way, yeah.
And how that's affected you and your working dynamic? And
I think mainly just being apart from each other is a challenge. Yeah. Try not to make that sound emotional. But it's, you know, it's when you've got someone who is your go-to person for helping you think things through, and when you have a lot we're sort of taking television writing jobs now, and I've got a bunch that I'm working on, and I need her to tell me what she thinks about things, and I sort of that is part of my thinking process. So if Phoebe's too busy, which she never is really, but or sometimes physical proximity. You're never too busy. But yeah, when you were filming Fleabag, I missed you.
Yeah. I had something really good to say. I just got blindsided by that. Being separate from each other. There'd be times that I'd be working on something for weeks and weeks and weeks and wouldn't be able to crack it, and then an afternoon talking to Jones, and suddenly we'd crack it. I don't think... I am certainly aware, and I think you are as well, that we're really lucky in that we get off on each other's success as much as we do our own, and that Vicky's work is as precious to me as mine is, and that there is actually somehow, by some grace of God, an absence of ego between us. And I think that was something that was... and I really learned that from Jones as well, because Jones is one of those people that comes into your life and just is like, you're amazing, and means it, you know, and she means it. And so we know that we get a lot out of just supporting each other, actually, and so luckily no big roadblocks yet.
Okay, while the going's good, let's have another question. Yes, on the front here.
In terms of what you might be doing next, is the Fleabag character something you want to explore more? Is there possibly a second series, or do you feel like that's included, or is there any clues about what you might want to do next together? So,
are we going to be seeing Fleabag again?
Pertinent question. I had felt that it was a closed story, and then it all went down quite well, so I was like, well, maybe there's a little door I can open, just there, a little story there. And so I was so excited by it landing so well, and then people have been saying, let's do another one. So I really, really desperately want to, but I have given myself the task of not doing it in our old kind of Dry Write way, I guess, of not agreeing to it till I know I have a story, and I'm starting to feel like I can justifiably open that up again, because her relationship with the audience to be also wrapped up in the end. You know, she's talking to. By the end, she doesn't need the camera anymore, and to me that was the hook that kept her in. So I'm working out a way to make it justifiable to bring her back. But hopefully, I mean, I want to get it so much. I'm just waiting for the bolt from the blue, really. But I hope so. Yeah.
Thank you. Another question, please. We've got one up towards the back there.
Hello. So I've been trying to tell some of my friends and family who don't know what Fleabag is, because there's some heathens out there. I've been trying to describe it to them. So I've been doing some Googling, trying to send them a link. And so much comes up around like, oh, it's like Bridget Jones's Diary, and I don't think it is. I think people are just making that link because you guys are female, and I think that's not right. So I'd like to know how you describe Fleabag. What should I be telling them?
I was really hoping you were going to tell me what you say. It's still honestly the hardest question, and people say, so who is Fleabag, or what's Fleabag about? I'm like, still can't quite sum it up. I'd say the best thing I've come up with is comedy. It's comedy about a woman who is on the surface incredibly funny and sexually confident and on the front foot and desperate to bring the audience into her life. And then she slowly, by doing that, lets them a little bit too far in. She starts to reveal other darker aspects of her personality, but by then it's too late. The audience are already there.
And I agree about them homogenising them because they're about women. I think that's an issue.
It's frustrating, yeah.
Frustrating.
Another question, yes, the lady who's just swung round to say, is this me? It's you.
Hello. I was just wondering what sort of routines you have in terms of your writing. How do you make sure that you kind of just sit down and get the work done? Have you got any routines? Any tips?
I find that you just have to be incredibly strict with yourself and not judgmental with yourself at the same time. So if you don't get something done, or if you can't think, then you don't beat yourself up. You forgive yourself as quickly as possible, and just believe that every time you come back to it, something else is happening. If you're sitting there and looking at it and genuinely trying to process it in your mind, then things will be happening, even though they're not necessarily writing. But the only thing that doesn't work is ignoring it, staying away and thinking that you can't do it, or hating yourself for not having produced something in that day. So, like, grabbing time as well, actually, any time of the day. I feel like if I feel like doing it at night, then I'll just do it. But mainly just turning up at the laptop.
I'd see, now that is the major difference between me and Vicky, is that's excellent advice. And I'm a put it off, make a sandwich, watch a film, make another sandwich, can't do it, freak out, call Vicky, freak out, and then suddenly just panic for like 2 hours and stay up till like 5 o'clock in the morning doing the draft that's in the next day that I've had a month to write, and that's part of the reason that it was so hellish as well, because I was doing it that way, and that was so painful and completely unnecessary. And so next time, I mean it. Next time, I'm gonna do it Vicky's way, and I'm gonna just get up and just write and not be frightened of it, and just write, and then hope that something good pops out.
Thank you. Another question, please. Yes, gentleman, just on the aisle there.
Thank you. I love the series and I love today, so thank you. And a bit like the lady's question here about meeting many heathens who haven't yet discovered the series. The thing that's puzzling for me, and I don't... Do you know who your audience is for Fleabag on TV? Because I meet people of all walks of life, all ages, who are evangelical about it, and then people who've never heard about it, but I can't put them into any discernible pattern at all.
God, my heart just exploded. Yeah, I've had a similar experience. I think I get asked a lot about... the answer gets put in my mouth a lot of times. People go, is it mainly young women that come and talk to you? And so I found myself a couple of times just going, yeah, I just remember the young women that come and talk to me. But no, you're right. I've met so many people... of all different walks of life, as you say, and just gets me every time. And the more surprising a person, the better, really. It's an intriguing thing. And also when people ask me what I think it is that's reached people, I don't like when we try and answer that question. I can't quite put my finger on that either. It's just a lovely feeling to know that it's appealing to people, humans, rather than just one bracket. So I don't know. Thanks for telling me that.
It possibly speaks to how often we all make assumptions about who audiences are for certain work, and the assumption that only someone who is like the protagonist is going to be interested in it. And I always have this conversation with theatres when they sort of say, oh, the reason we're not programming work of that nature is our audiences won't be up for it. And you go, but how do you know? Have you tried it? Until you've got that evidence, it's really hard to say.
I think it's always been Phoebe's instinct that I've learned from you, that to treat the audience as very, very intelligent and really listening and really into it, and to trust that they'll come with you if you're ambitious with them, and that you think they can take things, and that they won't be too shocked, and that you give things with humour as well, and a little bit of charm, that they'll kind of come anywhere with you. And so I feel like when you wrote Fleabag, you really had that in your heart.
We've got time for one more question. Oh, that hand went up so fast. But you've got it. Well done.
I think one of the things I like about the play, and particularly the TV series, is how I think generous your writing is, and how the characters that populate Fleabag's world are very strong in themselves. And I wondered if you'd ever thought of doing monologues of any of the other characters in it.
Ooh. I mean, can I play them?
You probably could. Yeah.
In which case, yeah, sure. Joe. Yeah, I suppose in some ways you do that when having to dramatise them. I kind of do that in a little way in my head anyway. That thinking of what's the inner of this person. So I think, I don't know if it's the same for you, Jones, when you're writing characters, but you do kind of accidentally imagine their thoughts of streams. Their thought streams. Streams. What am I trying to say? Stream of thought. Thank you. Yeah. You imagine their stream of thought. So I think I probably accidentally did that anyway. But yeah, it would be lovely. I think at some point I'm going to have to let them go. I've been wringing them dry for about 3 years now, all these characters.
All right. So something that is happening next year in July is Vicky's new play will be here. It's called Touch. You've written it, you're going to be directing it as well. Tickets are on sale now.
Loads of dates are already sold out.
Really? God, this is insane, isn't it? Vicky, just give us, for those who haven't yet booked their ticket for Touch, just give us in a sentence or two what's it about.
It's about a woman who is unsure of why or what she wants in a relationship, but feels this compulsion to be in one, and it's sort of asking questions about what that is, and how, as women, we sort of relate to a relationship and what we're asking of it. Similar theme to my last play, actually, I think. Now I've said it.
So we won't ponder that one for too long. So just before we go, just final question for both of you. If you could just name one thing that you've learnt from doing Fleabag, and let's talk about the whole kind of Fleabag cycle. What's one thing that you've learnt from doing from that experience that you think you'll take forward into future work?
Audiences love it when you subvert their expectations. That's a big one.
Don't compromise on your gut feeling, I think, mainly for me. And it was that feeling of being left alone, just our company, just doing exactly what we wanted. And all those moments I thought, I can't do that. I can't write that. And then Jones going, no, you can. It's our company, you can. And then taking that forward into the TV show as well, just actually, when it doesn't feel right, just say, I don't know what the answer is, but I know this doesn't feel right, and untangling that knot, rather than just saying, if everyone else thinks it's okay, then it's probably fine. It's my biggest lesson.
Great lessons for all of us. Thank you very much, Vicky Jones, Phoebe Waldron.